Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the yet another tutorial. And in this tutorial, we will see how to create a conversation. So first of all, we'll go to the conversations controller and we will import the conversation. I'm not able to import conversation from models and conversation.js. Sometimes autocomplete works fine, sometimes it doesn't. Never mind. So I will import the user also from the user.js over here, and I will import the message also and message.js. I'll say export constant create conversation, and when it comes to this create conversation, this will be also async function, and it will have the request response, and let's make use of the try and catch block over here. If there is any error, we'll throw the error response dot. I'll do one thing. I'll go and copy this from here, and I'm just using this code as of now. The autocomplete suggested some code. I will just keep it. It is not required as of now. So first of all, I'll do one thing. So when it comes to the creating the conversations, let me just show you the model of the conversation. Conversations. Okay, so conversation basically having the users and it will have the array of the users. Okay, so as the participants. So I will do one thing. I will get these participants from the request body. I'll be sending this data from the request body over here. I will get the participants. Then I'll do one thing. I will try to get these participants, not just one participant. Let me just change the logic over here. So I'll try to find a username. So I'll show you the user model over here. So when it comes to the user model, users are having the username. So I'm making use of the user model, which I've imported from this models. So I'll try to make use of the user model. Then I will make use of the query. Okay, so I'll make use of in keyword over here and in keyword colon participant. So over here, let me just tell you what is going on. So when it comes to the participants, so I'm having these participants. Okay, so participant one, participant, I will just show you the ID. Okay, so participant ID as 10, participant ID as level, participant ID as 12, whatever it is. Let's consider these are the IDs present inside of our MongoDB. Okay, so this is how I'm passing the IDs over here. So now what I'll do, I'll check. Okay, so if these are my users, if users dot length, I will check. Okay, so users dot length is not equal to participants dot length. Okay, so this is the my logic. So I will say response dot status 404. That means users are not found, and I'll give the message over here one or more users not found. So now what it will do over here is basically I'm sending these three participants from the request body. Okay. So inside of this users, it will go and check. Okay. So whatever is this participants array, I'm just sending over here. It will go and check whether this usernames. So I will say Aksh, Aksh1 or Aksh2. Okay. So it will take this participants array of the usernames and it will go and check whether these usernames are present inside of the DB or not. Okay. So that means if suppose I'm sending these three usernames and all these three usernames are present, that means length of this array will be, then it will create this users array and it will check whether this is present or not. If all these users are present inside the DB, then participants array will be this and the users array will be this. Okay, that means the length of the both the arrays will be same. Users dot length and the participants dot length. Okay, so this will be same. So it will not go inside of this if condition. If suppose I'm sending these participants as a Aksh1 and Aksh2, and if suppose this Aksh2 is not there in our database, okay, if it is not there in database, then this users array will have the Aksh and Aksh1. This Aksh2 won't be there because this is not there inside of our Mongoose database. Now, the length of the users dot length is not equal to the participants dot length. Okay, so participants length is having these three items and the users length is having these two items because Aksh2 is not there in our DB. So that time it will throw this response as one or more users are not present. Okay, so I hope this concept is clear. So I'm making use of this Mongo query. And now what I will do, I will say constant participant IDs, and then I will try to fetch the IDs of the users. So I will say users dot map. I will map these users. Then I will get the ID of the individual user. So I will say user dot underscore ID. I hope this is clear. I am just mapping all these users from my users collection and I'm just getting all the IDs. Okay, so this is also an array. Okay, so participant IDs. This is also array. Then I will say constant conversation. I will say constant conversation is equal to. Okay, so let me just see whether I can make use of this auto-completed code. Constant constant conversation is equal to new conversation, and inside of this new conversation, I will send a participants. Okay, so I'll say participants as participants IDs. I'm sending these participants IDs because in the conversation I am just integrating the object IDs over here. Okay, so I will say participant IDs, and this is the conversation. I will say conversation. Okay, I'll copy this. I'll paste this. I will say await conversation dot save. So my conversation will be getting saved. And response dot status 200. I will send the same conversation at the front end side as the conversation has been created. Okay. So I have created the conversation. I hope I've considered all the parameters. Yeah. So this is how we create the conversation. And next I will do one thing, export constant get conversation by user. So it's the async function and it is taking the request and the response. And now again I will have the try and my catch block. It will have the error parameter and I'll just copy paste the same thing. Whatever is the error, it will just throw. And now I'll try to get the conversation by user. Okay, so when I will try to get the conversation by user, so I will do one thing as a constant user ID is equal to request dot user dot underscore ID. Okay, so I'll just directly get my request.user.id over here, and I will say constant conversations is equal to await conversation dot find conversation.find, and I will say participants. I'll say participants dot user ID. Okay, so I will just try to find a user who matches with the participant ID, and then I will make use of this. I'll say response.status 200 dot JSON as a conversation. Okay, so this is how we will get the conversation ID. And next, we will have the next route. I will say export constant get messages by conversation request response. Why it is showing red? Okay, it went. So again, I will have my catch block and try catch. Constant messages is equal to await. So I'm trying to get the messages over here. So I will make use of the name of the message model. Constant constant messages is equal to await message dot find, not participants. Let me just go to my message over here. Okay, so this is my messages, and I'll try to find a. So now I'm over here inside of the messages. So I will say message dot find, and inside of this I will have this parameters conversation. I will have this. I'll have this conversation parameter over here, and I will say conversation, and whatever conversation matches with the conversation ID. So first of all, let me just pass the conversation ID. Okay, so I will say constant conversation ID, and I will get this conversation ID from the request dot params. Okay, and I will pass it over here this conversation ID, and now I will make use of the populate. I'll make sure to populate, and I'll try to populate the sender. So when it comes to the messages is having this parameter the sender and conversation. Okay, so I'll try to populate this sender over here. So now whenever we'll be getting the messages, so instead of sending the data of the sender, it will just send me the object ID of the user. Okay, so object of the ID of the user, but I want all the other details of the user. So when it comes to the user is having the username, password. I want these details. So when it comes to the sender is basically the user model. I want username. Okay, so I will pass that over here. I will take the username from the sender. Why it is highlighting as a red? I am populating this data. Okay, so now, okay, let me just tell you. This is the message collection. Message collection is having this conversation. I'm trying to find the conversation which matches with this conversation ID. So over here, let me just tell you what is going on. So it's a localhost 5000 API, then like conversation, whatever that is, and get messages or something. And over here, we will be passing the this conversation ID over here via route. Okay, so 1234, like whatever it is, I'm just passing this conversation ID over here, and this conversation ID is coming as a params. Okay, so I'll cache this conversation ID as a conversation ID like this and passing it over the route. And I will try to match it whether this conversation ID is matching with this conversation or not. And if it is matching, then I will populate the sender. Okay, so inside of the message, I'm having this sender, and sender is basically the user collection ref. User collection ref. And inside the user collection ref, I want the username. I don't want to show the password. So that's why I've just given the parameter, the password of the sender. I'm populating this sender, and from inside of the sender, this user collection. From user collection, I want this username. So sender's username I want. If I want password also, I'll say password. So it will like this username and password. So now it will give me the username and password, but I don't want to send this password parameter. So that's why I will remove this, and I will only send this username. Okay, so I hope this is clear. And I will copy this response to status 200. I'll come over here and I will paste it over here, and whatever the message I got, I'll send it over here. Okay, so I'm just sending the message whatever I have got for the specific conversation ID. Okay, so this video is getting lengthier. So now I'll do one thing. I'll go to the conversations over here, and I'll go to the messages. Okay, let me just copy this over here. And inside of the conversation, I have created this create conversation. So I will import that. I will import create conversation from create conversation controller, get conversations, and get message by conversation. So these three controllers I have created over here. So router.post, I will not give any specific path over here. And when it comes to the create conversation, I will put that over here to create the conversation. And I will use the same. Instead of post, I will say get, because I want to get the conversation. Okay, so I will paste it over here to get the conversations, and I will copy paste the same thing over here, and I want to get the messages. But inside of this get the message by conversation, I have told you all that I'll be passing the this conversation ID over the route. Okay, so I'll be passing the conversation ID over the route. So for that purpose, I have to give this conversation ID like this. Okay, so this parameter conversation ID, I have to give it like this. In place of this conversation ID will come, which I'll be sending over the parameter like this. Okay, and then messages. Okay, so this will be something like this. Okay, so my route will be something like this. This is just an example I'm giving you. Okay, so this is how our routes would look. But now the thing is that I don't want just anyone to create the conversations or get the conversations. So for that purpose, we have to implement the authentication. So I'll do one thing. I'll copy this middleware. I will come over here and I will say import auth middleware. Okay, and I will put that middleware over here. So only authenticated users will be able to access this route, not just anyone. So if suppose you want to create a conversation, get the conversation, or get the messages by the conversation, then you have to make sure that you're authenticated over here. So this is the authentication process. So now let me just tell you what is this next over here. So now, when anyone will try to hit this post request to create a conversation, it will come over here first at the auth middleware. It will check for all these parameters, whether it is able to verify this JWT token, whether it is able to find this user, and all these parameters only after verification, then only it will go next. It will be able to go to this particular controller to create conversation, otherwise it will not go. Okay, so I just hope this is clear, and this is how we set the middleware. So we have done for the create conversation, I mean to create conversation, get conversation, and get the conversation by the messages. And the next tutorial we will see how to do it for the messages. Okay, so this video is almost 20 minutes lengthier, so thanks for watching. In the next tutorial I will show you all how to create the routes for the messages.